Hello all. So let me start with our presentation once till we are waiting for Avani to join us. Yeah. So what SuperProfs is all about? Many of you should be knowing about SuperProfs. You must be registered on our website also. Let me start with the vision with which SuperProfs was started. The vision with which SuperProfs was started was to make quality education accessible to masses at affordable prices. And while most of you would have seen the quality of our courses, the kind of videos that we present, and also which are accessible at very low internet speed. So when we started in 2014, this was our vision, and by 2016, the SuperProfs website and desktop apps are being used by more than 6 lakh students all across India. We also have more than 200 professors on board who are teaching these courses. These professors are, from all the parts of our country, and therefore all these factors have made SuperProfs India's largest online platform for competitive exam preparation. Now, we all come across different questions at different point of time where we think, what are the key benefits of joining an online coaching institute like SuperProfs? Well, first of all, when you go to a local coaching institute, all you get access to is a limited number of professors who may be ranging from your city only. So with an online platform like SuperProfs, you get access to highly experienced and successful professors from across various parts of the country. It does not matter where you are staying put or where the professor is from. You can learn from the professor at the comfort of your home. SuperProfs have a lot of rank holders across various exams. We have shown exceptionally higher success rate as compared to our competitors across India. What are the benefits of studying online on such a portal? Well, first of all, on SuperProfs, we do not have any kind of restriction on the number of times you can watch a particular video. Also, with our USB courses and the desktop app, you can download the video once and watch it any number of times without using any internet connection. Our syllabus is always up to date. We make sure that we are able to help the students in the best possible manner. And to ensure that, we also provide the opportunity to have your doubts resolved one-on-one basis with our professors. Now, without wasting much of your time, I would like to move forward and discuss a very surprise element for you. Well, this is not the only webinar which we'll be holding with Avani Mishra. We have a whole series of webinars to help you. The first webinar, which is being held today, is Ask Avani, wherein she'll discuss about her journey of success and how she cracked the CS exams. The second webinar and the third webinar will be exam-specific webinars spanning across CS Executive on August 13th and CS Professional on August 20th. Again, this is a tentative schedule and we haven't yet finalized the dates. Now, while CA and CMA students preparing for CA and CMA exams might be thinking that why are we here? Well, students, you should know that Avani has also been preparing and has cleared CA Foundation exam and CA IPCC, and also we will be holding similar webinar series for CA and CMA exams with the toppers soon. Alright. So in order to get all the information about these webinars up and to remain up to date, please do not miss out on any information update that we will be sending through emails. If you are getting our emails under the promotion or updates tab, please move the email to primary tab and you will always get our emails in the proper folder. Now let me introduce Avani, the reason why you are here. Having cleared CS Executive with All India Rank 13 and CS Professional with All India Rank 1, Avani became the youngest company secretary in India at the age of 19 years only. Currently, she is pursuing LLB from one of the most renowned law institutes of India. Not only on the academic front, Avani is an overall role model. She is an avid painter and has received the President's Award for painting. She is a budding model and she is a Kathak graduate. That means she has received the Visharad So now I'll welcome Avani and I'll start with the presentation. Hi Avani, welcome to this webinar.
Hi Juhi, and a very warm welcome to all of you sitting here from all different parts of the country. First of all, I would like to say thank you for that very generous welcome, and I feel extremely proud to be addressing a gathering of such wonderful young minds who will probably be leading the destiny of this country. So it's a great honor to be addressing all of you.
Well, I sincerely thank you, Avni, for being a part of this webinar. And I remember your, effort that you wanted to help the students on a mass behalf. And this is the first step that we are taking towards the same. So, Avni, apart from all the credentials that we all know, tell me something about yourself as a person.
I think I'm not an extraordinary person, and well, quite contrary to all the things being said about me, I think it's probably just the fine art of balancing a lot of things together, which can make us do a lot of things and achieve a lot more in other activities besides academics. So since last week, when I got to know that I've been asked to address a gathering of students almost my age, I have racked my heart and mind thinking about what to say to you all. And in this session, we'll be talking about CS preparation and both the stages, executive and professional. But more importantly, we'll be talking about online learning. And I asked myself about the things that I wish I had known earlier before accessing an online platform, and just important lessons that I've learned all this while. So I'd like to talk about the things that I really believe in and things that I've learned in my CS journey so far. Hello. Am I audible to everybody? Hi, so I think I lost touch with Juhi, so I think I will just begin talking about things that are really important. But before I do that, I think I would like to tell you something about myself. So whenever something about me is said, it's more on the lines of my achievements and things that I've been doing so far. But something that I really want to talk about is that success is a wonderful thing, and we all enjoy it, and sometimes we deserve it too. But it is not the kind of experience that we all acquire wisdom from. I've been asked to speak about my achievements, and instead, let me tell you something very honestly. I think whatever happened to me about, when it comes to my first rank or my 13th rank, it was largely because I've been very terrified of failure. And I think I didn't want to succeed as much as I didn't want to fail. And I know, coming from a rank holder, this might seem very shocking to all of you that I'm talking about failure and not success at this point of time. But I believe that it is so essential at this point of our lives to be talking about both failure and success and the kind of lessons that we learn from failure. So speaking about a very personal instance of failure, I had 10 CGPA in my 10th standard, and everybody was really happy, parents and teachers and everybody. So 2 years later came my 12th standard results, and I mean, despite having a best of 4 of 96%, I got very low marks in English. I mean, 74 is probably quite low as per CBSE standards. So my overall aggregate was really low, and I could not get into the top-notch institutions in Delhi or Mumbai, and all my friends were moving out. And as for myself, I think I was in this dark, long tunnel, which I didn't know, where it ended. So it was at that point of time that I talked to my parents, and then I realized that, I can do CA and CS together. And in that course of journey, I realized that I had a passion for law, and then I decided to give CLAT, and that's how I got into the National Law Institute. So I'm not going to stand here and tell you that failure is fun and that we all should fail sometimes in our lives. But my point here is that, some failure in life is inevitable. I mean, we are accountancy students. We're all familiar with the accrual concept that, we must recognize all possible losses, but not recognize gains. So it's always hoping for the best, but being prepared for the worst. I mean, it can be in the form of hardships or heartbreak or, things of that kind. So it is impossible to live without failing at something. And that's what I want you all to remember. And I hope this little story serves as an inspiration to all of you who failed sometimes in your lives, and that it motivates you to believe that there is hope and that you can achieve a lot more, and that you must not let your past dictate your future.
Those are great lines, and especially I like your quote relating it to accountancy. I'm pretty sure our students can relate to it as well. So when you decided, to take these exams and all, what were the main constraints that you were facing while, studying? Or what are the general constraints that a student faces while he or she starts to prepare for such exams?
Right. I think considering the complexity of the current environment in terms of, jobs, everybody, it's like so demanding that we're supposed to be graduates, we're supposed to have professional qualifications. I mean, we're supposed to be good speakers. So I'm sure everybody will be able to relate to this, that there is so much more expected out of us, that all of us are doing a lot of things together to have a wholesome personality. So I think the most difficult time for me was in 2014, when I had enrolled myself in a BCom institution here, because I hadn't got into the National Law Institute back then. So in April 2014, I had my BCom exams. In May, I had my IPCC. In May mid, I had my CLAT. And in the first week of June, I had my CS executive exams. So it was like a crazy set of 3 months, and I was just so occupied. I think that's when I realized that, it's...
Yeah, the whole list itself is quite overwhelming.
Yes. I mean, when I look back at the time, I feel so thankful that that phase in my life is over. So back then, there was so much to do that I did not really have the time to attend classes physically for all of these. So I relied on a lot of online material, and thankfully, all of us are born at a time when we have access to online resources where we can sit in the comforts of our home and juggle a lot of things together. So I think that was one thing that played a major part in whatever I achieved. So the constraint here was that I wasn't interacting in physical proximity with a teacher. It was more in the form of emails and, occasionally calling them up. And there is a lot of impersonality in an online medium. So that's one constraint that we need to overcome, that it's very easy to get swayed and, just open an interesting website on a new tab and, just not attend lectures at all. So that was one difficulty, to keep myself on the right track.
Right. But I think the, studying online and preparing through the online mode, even though, yes, there were some lags, that you had to call your professors or ask your questions through emails, did you not get time to, pursue all your hobbies and interests while preparing for the exams?
Yes. In fact, I think that is something that kept me on the right track and kept my mind off from the kind of academic pressures that we tend to have. So I paint and I dance, and I think all of us have that one creative corner in our hearts and minds that we want to explore, and sometimes we're just so caught up in our lives that there's no time left to sort of explore any creative hobby. So I think all of you who are listening to me right now, it's so important to keep yourself constructively occupied. It can be something as simple as gardening or photography or anything that keeps your mind away from academic pressures, and something that you can do in your free time, and that it gives you the kind of mental strength to come back to academics with greater vigor. So that's something that I think we should all take time out for.
Right, and it's like you do not have to sacrifice on your life on a whole. You have all the time to yourself, as well as you can still ace the exams, especially because of these online preparation modes that we have currently.
Yes, thankfully.
Yeah. So, what were the available options for you to prepare?
I think to everybody there's just two options. Either you go to a physical coaching class and spend a lot of time there, or there is online learning, and then there's the omnipresent self-study, right? So I think primarily why I chose online medium was that it gave me the right combination of assisted learning. So when it comes to online classes, there's nobody who's telling you to write things down, and there's nobody looking at you and telling you to study and not talk or not use your phone, or things of those kind, things that kids of my age and probably all of us need. So so that was something that helped me in the right fashion in terms of assisted learning, that I was making my own notes, and I was logging in at the right time, or if that logging in option was not available for online classes, I viewed the archive lessons, and I made it a point that I don't miss lectures, because it was my only source of learning. Other than that, I was doing things all by myself. So that is the main reason I chose online learning. And I think for all of us who are from cities which are not metro cities, and places where online learning is more accessible as compared to physical classes. I mean, there's no good quality classes available. So I think this is the best option for all of us, that we get access to quality teachers who are available all the time. So I think that is something that helped.
And here I would also like to iterate an experience of my own, wherein when I was preparing for these online entrance exams before engineering, I had to go all the way down to Jaipur, and that too in Delhi traffic, and it took me almost every day just from one side. And I would run off from my school and then hurry up and go for the coaching class, spend all the day there, and then there was no time that I could give to myself for self-study, which I think online courses are covering in a very well manner, right? Especially if you have the provision of downloading some videos or viewing them offline. Then even if you are commuting, first of all, you save time on commuting, and then if you are commuting also or going somewhere, then you can watch those offline videos. You can use the keynote, and especially currently with 4G network and 3G networks on all mobile devices or smartphones becoming
Absolutely.
so well, you can always ask your professors doubts and all. Yeah.
Right.
So, I think, are there any other key challenges while studying online that you faced, apart from the ones you mentioned?
So there are technological constraints somewhere that there are sort of errors in terms of the connectivity, or sometimes we just get logged out of apps, and sometimes they need to be updated and all of that. So I think those are little things which can be managed with just little effort, but again, it's something that we have no control over. So I mean, fingers crossed, I hope I don't lose my connection right now, but yeah, I think that's one constraint as well. And I think owing to the set of medium that online learning is, that there is no interaction between the teacher and the students. I think one thing that I feel is that we tend to feel very isolated and lonely, because there is no one who's checking on our progress. So unless we keep ourselves on the right track all by ourselves, it's very easy to get swayed and just lose focus from what is being taught in a classroom. And also from a teacher's perspective, I think teachers don't really get the kind of feedback that they would in a personal physical coaching class, that you can ask students to raise hands or tell, or you can test them and make them stand up, and to do all sorts of things that we all experience in coaching classes. So owing to that impersonality, I think that is one of the key challenges when it comes to online classes, that the teacher is not sure of the progress of the student, as well as the students feel isolated. And I think my generation, it probably believes a lot in socializing. So once you're sitting in a room with, with just four walls around you and you're just viewing a lecture, it probably gets very uninteresting after a point of time, that you're not passing chits in class, or you're not playing tic-tac-toe at the back pages of your notebook. So those are the kind of things that all of us miss out who are just studying through the online medium. But again, we're probably saved from all the troubles of traveling and the distraction and all of that. So I think there are two sides to it, and we just need to choose which one to be on.
Maybe all the time that you save, you can get the success and eventually go out for a bigger movie than you were planning, because you have a lot of time.
Yes, of course. Right.
Okay. So how did you manage the other activities? Like, did you follow a particular study timetable or a particular schedule for preparing and managing the activities that you had interest in hobby?
Yes. So the first thing that I did, and it's probably the most important thing, I'm sure all of you listening to me have heard it before, but it is so important that I believe that it's worth repeating, that make your own notes. No matter how much printed material you get, how many modules or, refreshers or extra material or scanner that you might have, it is so important to write something in your own handwriting and in the way that is more perceptible to your brain, and something that is more personal to you. So I believe that notes are such a valuable reference tool, because what happens in CS exams, I mean, some of you might be executive or professional students, so in executive you still get a break, but when it's CS professional, it's just 9 exams in a row and you just get one Sunday in between. So it is so important to have your own ready reference notes, because you just get one evening between 2 exams. I mean, unlike CA exams where you get a whole day, it's so much more challenging to revise the entire syllabus in one evening. So you definitely need to have your own notes and make little sketches or little diagrams or flowcharts or underline things, or maybe use different pens, anything that makes you remember things a lot more. So it's been psychologically proven that colors improve our understanding. So maybe you can use different highlighting colors or anything of that kind. It's so important to make your own notes. And I mean, we'll be talking about this in detail in the other 2 seminars that we have lined up about executive and professional students. So I'll be talking about subject specific note making and subject specific guidance. But right now, whichever course you are pursuing, whatever classes you're viewing, even if it's a physical coaching class, just make your own notes and underline things that you believe are important. And one thing that I did was that I set short-term goals for myself that, before the evening, I want to finish this because I have to go out with friends or family in the evening. Or, if I have this thing lined up for next month, let me just finish this much portion before it. So set very, very, very short goals for yourself and then reward yourself once you accomplish them. It can be in terms of, reading a few pages of the module, or, just writing something or solving a few numericals. So, so it's very important to set very short-term goals for yourself and then keep rewarding yourself, so that you keep yourself focused and you keep yourself motivated to achieve those goals in the larger picture. So those are 2 things that are very essential. And also, take time out to spend with your family or friends or your pets or people who matter to you in your life, because it is so important to be associated in a healthy relationship. And it is, parents who inspire you, and it's so much stress relieving to be talking to them at odd hours and just sharing whatever you feel. So I think you should have one person who you can go and talk to and just relieve a lot of burden from your mind.
Yeah, those are great takeaways, and for our students, I'll just briefly, give them the key takeaways that I think are from these tips. One thing is to create flashcards or your own notes, right, with different colors, wherein you mention the key terms, and from which you at the time of the exams you can simply look at those key terms and revise whatever they are about. Second thing is to pre-plan your preparation in such a way that you have proper guidance and strategy, and you create your short-term goals like particular exams, topics, subjects based on those. And as and when you are able to complete and you succeed you achieve those short-term goals, you award yourself so that you feel that sense of accomplishment, and eventually which will come with this exam results also. Also, the last but not the least, do not let your life become mundane because of all the exam preparation. Hang out with your family and friends and live a life while preparing for your exam. Okay. So at this point, I would just launch a small poll. Avani, if you want, you can take a 2-minute break. All right. And
Okay.
I would
All
ask
right.
the students to respond to some of the questions that we have for them.
Right.
Guys, before I close this poll, I want all of you to complete the poll because I can see many of you have still not answered. So, will not surprisingly, majority of you agree that time saved in commuting is one of the major benefits and the biggest advantage of online coaching, followed by effective time management. And this is one thing which is very important. You can learn from Avni's story also how she was able to use time most effectively while preparing for her exams, also giving the board exams and pursuing her interests and hobbies at the same time. Well, there's close match between no relocation to another city and access to India's best teachers. But see, no relocation might be because most of you are belonging to city like Delhi. But for people coming from smaller cities, this is a very big factor because there are family constraints, the kind of support that you have to provide, and well, we might not realize it in the beginning, but access to India's best teachers, the kind of guidance and mentorship we get from the teachers is one of the leading factors, and it results in our success. I'll create another poll, and yeah, hi Avni.
I,
Yeah, so I remember
right.
reading in one of your webinars that you had in your interviews you had mentioned about smart learning.
Right.
I wanted to throw some light on smart learning and how the students, in this webinar can benefit the most out of that.
Right. So I'm assuming that most of you are CS students here. So I think the first thing that we face when we open our CS executive modules is the thickness of the company law module. And, you know, it just it freaked me out back then. And I was like, how will I cover this entire module I didn't even have 9 months back then when I received it. So I think smart learning lies in understanding what you have to take out and absorb from a particular module or subject or chapter. So when I talk about smart learning, I'm initially talking about how to extract the right kind of information from learning materials and all the resources that you have at your disposal, and using it to the best of your advantage. So when we talk about smart learning, we'll talk about how to make the best use of modules, and also about writing styles. So since we have a constraint of time here, I won't go into the details of the writing styles because that's more subject specific and executive and professional specific as well. But for those of you who have started studying right now for your exams in December, what you can keep in mind is that not everything in the module is important. And mark my words, I think it's very unlike of a rank holder to be saying this, that you don't need to go through the entire module. But trust me, it's so true that, not everything that's there in the module is essential for you at that particular stage. And again, this is linked to my point about making your own notes. So when you read something, compare it with a past year examination question, and you'll realize what sort of ideology goes behind drafting a particular question related to a particular section when it comes to law, or a practical question when it comes to some of the practical subjects that we have, including accountancy and FTFM in the professional level. So once you start making your own notes, read something from the module, and then take out what you feel is important out of that, and just make very short notes about it. Also, amendments are very important at the CS professional stage. So once you've made notes, go over them, and if there's some amendment, just cut it and write over there. So you will remember what the law was before it got amended and what is the new law. So once you're writing your answers, it is so essential to communicate to the examiner all that you know. And it's not a leap of faith that you can just write that this is what it should be, or this is what I believe should be the right answer when it comes to hypothetical questions. So I won't jigsaw it too much, and I know there are like executive and professional students, so I won't confuse the two and share a lot. But when you read a module, just go through the past year examination questions first, and I understand that there are new things being asked in every attempt. There is no denying that. But once you look at the past year examination questions, there are very good scanners available, and there are compendiums of past examination questions at various websites, including SuperProfs. So you can access those learning materials, and then before starting a particular chapter, look at the kind of questions and the marks that have been allocated to a particular subject. We have very little time to cover 7 subjects for CS executive and 9 subjects for CS professional. And some of us are doing CA and law and BCom and so many other things with it. So it is not possible for us to go through each and every subheading and heading in the module. So the key strategy here is to go over the past examination question papers, and then mark out things that you believe are important, and then allocate your time accordingly. If there's a topic that has been in the compulsory question section for like 8-10 years, it's super important, and spend a lot of time practicing those kind of questions over and over again. And another thing that you can do is that once you're through with the syllabus, once you start solving questions related to a particular chapter, always highlight what you didn't get in that particular answer. There are things that we all miss out while writing law-based answers, or while solving any particular, tax or accountancy question. So because we have very limited time before the exam as well, it is very important to revise something that you did not know. So if your entire module is blank before the exam, you will not know what to focus on. So just mark something that you believe is important, mark it with red, and before the exam, you don't have to go through questions that you've already done before. And maybe you can just spend time revisiting the things that you didn't get, and important sections or amendments or cases, or just little details related to a particular chapter. So that is what essentially smart learning is about. And when it comes to writing styles, like I said, we'll discuss that in detail related to every particular subject in executive and professional. So I won't take a lot of time discussing that, but we can have a one-on-one session in executive, and that will be a lot more detailed. And this is more of a general, instructional session, but the other two ones will be more focused and examination oriented.
Right, yeah. I just wanted to cover that only for the students who, might be wondering that, okay, this is just general tips. Where do I go into the detail aspect of it? But thank you, Avani, for clearing that. So we are getting a lot of questions from our students from all over the and one thing that I would like to, for you to probably address at this point of time is can the students follow any study plan for 2 months coming for the coming exams? Is there a particular strategy or kind of plan that you have?
Right. That's a very good question. So the first thing that you need to evaluate right now, today, after this session ends, is analyze your strengths and weaknesses. I mean, speaking from a very personal experience, I've been so scared of maths and practical subjects that is probably my weakness. I mean, I still struggle when it comes to mental maths. So it's very important to analyze your own weakness. And I spent a lot of time doing accountancy and tax and financial management in the CS professional, because it's just something that scared me. So I'm sure all of us have different subjects which we are not too sure of. For some of us, it can be law, and for some of us, it can be practical subjects. So what you need to do right now is analyze what is your weakness, and in the next 2 months, make sure that it comes at par with your preparation in other subjects. If you have started preparing, or if not, you feel reasonably confident about that subject. Do not leave any subject that you are even a bit skeptical about till the very end, because then you'll be freaking out with counting days and hours and how much time should I allocate to that. All that math does not really work. So what you need to do right now is just focus on what your weakness is, and don't feel shy about asking questions. That's another plus point of online mediums. Nobody knows who you are, so you can ask the silliest of question and not fear that anyone is judging you. You don't even know this, and things of that kind. So it's very important to address what your weakness is, and then start studying and working towards that particular subject. And maybe when it comes to your strengths, you can leave that subject for a later time, and maybe you can even swap the two and work on your strengths when you have a lot of time at your disposal. You can make detailed notes, or just improving what you're very good at, instead of working right now on what you're not good at, making your strengths better. So ideally what you should do is focusing and allocating your time in such a manner that when you know something, make it very good, make it excellent, and attain the supremacy at that particular subject. And when it comes to something that you're scared of, work on it as much as you can, so that you feel confident before the day of your exam that you've given it your best, and you've tried as hard as you could.
Right. And I think this comes in line with your idea of, smart learning, because you don't have to, in a haywire manner, read through every module and study through every module, or just prepare for the heck of preparing it. So identify your weaknesses, identify if you are preparing for the next 2 months. So first of all, you need to, organize your thoughts, organize your current level of preparation, assess where you are.
Yes.
Right, and then work on the module.
Just to add to the points that I've already spoken of. Sorry to be interrupting you. So another thing is that we must all have that ability to move outside our comfort zones, and sometimes we're just so caught up attending classes and, going to the coaching every day and coming back. We don't really pause and reflect upon how much we've truly learned from it. Going to the classes every day with copies in the bag and, writing stuff and coming back is not really.
Okay, I think Avni's connection is not working for the time being. For Avni to join us. In the meanwhile, I can see some of you are asking, how do you clarify your doubts in online classes? Well, I don't know about other online companies, but I know that SuperProfs provides a very handy and a very interactive feature wherein, you can chat with professors one-on-one. So you can ask your doubts as and when you get them. You're studying during the day and you get some question. You can simply ask your question, and your professors are very, very responsive. They respond to your queries very on priority. So that is one way. And let's say there are some questions for which you need, furthermore explanation which cannot be covered on through chat medium. You can write your queries to our professors, or we also have offline centers where you can come and probably ask your queries from the professors. So yeah, Avni is here. Just a second.
Hi, I'm really sorry. There was some problem with audio, so I had to log in again.
Absolutely.
Is it working fine now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So the last point that I was talking about when it comes to short-term preparation is, and even long-term for that matter, is the ability to move outside comfort zones. Like I said, I've always been scared of maths, so I didn't opt for maths in my +2, and I had fine arts instead. So when it came to my CPT preparation, which has 50 marks of maths, and some of us who've given CPT might be aware that we need to qualify maths as a paper in that as well, and it has +2 course. So I had 2 home tutors coming in to exclusively teach me mathematics. I was doing all the subjects by myself except maths, and I so much wanted to give up on CA back then, because I just realized that this is not what I want to do, and I was so uncomfortable with that one subject. So then I realized that and it was probably my parents who forced me to take help for that, but then that's something that helped me clear my IPCC, and well, in April I went to represent India internationally in a conference in Sri Lanka. It was an accountancy based conference. So it's like one thing leads to another, and it is so difficult to be outside our comfort zones and doing something that we're not very good at, but then the returns are so rewarding and so enriching that it just makes the whole process worth it.
Right. So yeah. So like whenever you prepare for online lectures, students face a lot of problems, like they become monotonous. So what do you do, that because you don't have your peers around you to prepare with or to chat with? So how did you overcome that, and how do our students overcome that?
I think the key lies in remembering that life is not a checklist of acquisitions and achievements, and sometimes it can get a lot of that there can be a lot of pressure on us, because uncles and aunties and neighbors might make us believe that marks are everything. But the key is in realizing that there is so much more to life than just ranks, and it's probably personal happiness, and I think that's something that I would rank at the highest pedestal of attainment, that it is so important to be happy. And as for me, my dad is a psychologist and my mom is a professor, so I could talk to them about both academic queries as well as just pour my heart out, and whenever I was in need of some real motivation. And I think another example is that after my 10th standard, I wanted to become a pilot. But I don't know what my dad saw in me back then, that he made me change my PCM optional, the whole elective to commerce. And he just thought that I would do a lot better. And again, when I was switching paths and from accounts, I was going into law, and I decided to give CLAT amid so much confusion that, my IPCC and my CS executive, I think it would have been really absurd for for anybody to be, taking on more than that. But then it was my parents who said that, if you like it, then just go ahead with it. And I think I feel really proud about listening to their advice. And sometimes I don't like it as well, but I think they give me so much strength. So I think all of us have some friends, or above all, parents who we look up to, and they're probably the best source to derive a lot of strength and mental energy from.
Yeah, so by that you have also answered another question of our students, which said, who asked like how to stay motivated, because it tends to take a toll on the students mentally, right? So you have different source of inspiration, people like role models like you, Avani, especially, that you help students a lot. So these things are there. Then as you mentioned earlier also, like to hang out with the friends and family, give them the due time, and give the due time to your interests and hobbies also. I think that is something which has been a key element in your success story also.
Yes.
Right. So
right.
Any other particular very interesting incidences during your exam preparation that
So what happened with me in my CS professional exam last year in June was that I was giving my secretarial audit paper. This was the third paper, and it had a question. I don't know if they changed the pattern or something, but there was a 20-mark question which had 5 parts, and I think we had to attempt 4 out of these, but the other questions were for 15 marks. So I somehow assumed that we had to attempt just 3 out of those 5. I didn't read the instruction line on the top which said that attempt any 4. I presumed that, other questions were for 15 marks. So this would also be 15 marks. I have to attempt just 3. So in that oblivion, I just skipped attempting a question that I knew. So it was, just, although, now when I look back, it was just 5 marks. But I think losing 5 marks without even writing and attempting that question, it was so disheartening for me. I didn't feel like studying for the next day's exam. I just kept going over and over it again that, how did I miss this one thing? And it just shocked me that, how can I do such a mistake? And I was really disheartened. And so it's one subject that I probably scored the lowest in out of all the 9 papers. But I think, now when I look back, I don't really have any regrets. So after that, I started picking answers. And I think that's another handy tip that everybody can keep in mind. Just tick whatever you have done so that you don't skip through any question and lose unnecessary marks there.
Yeah, so I think that's where we go back to the basics, that our parents taught it right from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Once you've completed your exam, check it for all the for whether you've attempted it all. But there was a second page which you probably did not look or something.
Yes, that is so important. That time I realized that it's very important. And I think being a rank holder once just puts a lot of pressure. So I think primarily why I felt worse was that, oh my God, I lost 3 marks and, it can just change ranks and everything. Not that I was gunning for a rank back then, because it was my first attempt at CS Professional. So I didn't know what to expect. But I think once everybody has a lot of expectations from you, it becomes necessary to perform, and I think that's one added pressure of getting a rank once, and then but
I think in your case, yes, it was the pressure of rank which was there. But considering the success rate is so like less in such exams, there's a lot of pressure on all the aspirants.
Yes.
Especially if they are appearing again, if they failed once and they're appearing again, so they do not have to get the pressure or get to their confidence and to their preparation. Yes, if they know that they have prepared, they should be confident enough. At the same time, not overconfident enough to do any such mistake wherein you just give away marks. So again, as I said,
and that's such a valid point, that all of us who failed once, and like I said, that we may all fail on completely different scales. For some it may be a small level of failure, and for some it may be humongous, like just losing out an attempt. But at the end of the day, what really matters is once you've cleared it, it doesn't really make a difference how long you took, or I think failure, like I said, is something that we acquire so much knowledge and wisdom from, and we know what not to do, and and then we can come to, the right path and the right steps to take in a particular direction. And when it comes to failure, sometimes it's just so inevitable that you can't really do anything about it. There's sometimes, what if your copy goes to someone who checks it very strictly, and those are the kind of things that we have no control over. So what we can do is, just give it our best and work to our best ability. And just going over our mistakes, that's very important. So if you haven't accomplished something once and you're trying for it again, very thoughtfully criticize yourself and see all that you fell short of, and do not have any airs around yourself that I gave it my best, it was out of my control. And sometimes it is beyond our control, but there are little things that we can do, little things like even improving our handwriting. And my mom is so particular about my handwriting and how I write. She's always made me do all things of that kind. So it is little things like underlining and remembering a particular case law, because what all of us don't do, and I think even in my executive I didn't remember case laws, but when I looked at the question paper, there were questions about answer with reference to a case law, and I'm sure I lost marks there, but because in general we do not have the tendency to remember case laws when it comes to CS. Of course, in the National Law Institute we are made to write answers with legal references, but when it comes to CS, no one really taught us that. So now now that I look back and I've gone through that phase, I believe that it is these little things that can make a huge difference in terms of marks and add up to a good aggregate score that can set off low marks in probably one or more subjects.
Right. And I think the key is to organize your thoughts. Yes, you are in an exam where timing is a very important factor. But even if you're responding to a question, you're attempting a question, the one thing it always comes in handy is to organize your thoughts, the way you respond to an answer. And that's where being particular about your handwriting or being particular about what you are writing, what you're thinking, it's very important, because sometimes what happens is I have 5 points in my mind, but if I do not, and I know the answer to that question is all those 5 points, but if I do not pay attention and think about it while writing, then I may miss out on one and still I'm at loss even though I knew it.
Right. And here come tips like managing the time during the question paper, and allocating the right amount of time to a 5 mark, to a 4 mark, to an 8 mark answer, and knowing how to attempt difference between analytical questions and case law based questions and practical questions. So this is something that demands a lot of attention, and I would like to keep it for the next session because I will be talking about all of these in detail to CS and executive and professional.
All right, yeah. So I was just coming to the point that
we're working on writing styles.
Sorry?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was saying that this comes in handy, especially for attempting theory exams where you have to write a lot of content. So because one of our students asked how to score well in theory exams, because it's easy to understand, but how to write those answers in a bookish language, and I think that's where you cover, and you'll be throwing some more light over the same in the. Yeah. So. Is there any particular tip that you have on how to crack CS in first attempt? Because our students have a lot of zeal to get that one answered.
I think the best tip can be to go through past exam question papers and write your own answers and then compare them with the suggested answers of the institute, because that is the kind of copy that probably the examiners have. So if your answer matches with the one that is of the institute, you probably have higher chances of getting good marks. And again, in theory-based subjects, I know we don't get full marks, even if we've written everything. There'll still be a general deduction of 1 or 2 marks, or depending on that. So for all of you who are preparing right now, prepare with the mindset that whenever something is asked, write it in points, be very precise, and do not unnecessarily, quote things which are not there in the module. I mean, you can have your own examples, but when it comes to section or case-based questions, be very precise in terms of writing. And again, when it comes to case laws, make your own notes, and if you can remember the facts of the case, that will be brilliant. And when it comes to practical subjects, just practice a lot. And like I said, mark all the answers that you're not able to get. And again, you have to ask your teachers why we arrive at a particular step. When it comes to accounts, there are things like amalgamation and reconstruction and valuation. So these are very technical aspects. So some difficulty that I faced is in understanding that, okay, so this step comes after this, but why is this? Like, how do I arrive at this? So it is very important to ask your teachers about the kind of ideology that goes behind solving a particular answer, and that's true for tax as well. So once you know what is the method that's working behind it, you can attempt similar questions based on, the same pattern. So that is very important. Do not do rote learning in any subject, be it formula or case or sections or anything of that kind. Just understand and absorb as much as you can.
All right, yeah. Thanks for the great tip. And students are asking questions like, how do you judge what parts of a module to skip and which ones to focus on, like the smart learning aspect that you told. So are there any key pointers on those lines, like any
Right.
brief take that they can, or some
Yes.
source to refer to?
Right. So, so the first thing is looking at past exam questions. The second thing is look at the questions at the back. If you turn your CS executive modules, you'll realize that there is this gray colored box which has self-test questions. So you have to find answers to those questions at least. And then there are a lot of summary points which are given in every module. So extrapolate on those points and then compare it with the past exam questions. So you will have a brief idea about what all has been asked and what the institute expects from a particular chapter of a particular module. So that is one thing that's essential. The other thing is once you look at the module, there are things which you can skip, just by looking at it. For example, you might not at the executive level require a detailed list of amendments. So the institute might offer you a compendium about the amendments that have taken place. So you can look at the past examination questions and see if it corresponds with the kind of questions that have been asked. Now I was looking at the this PDF file that the institute released for the CS professional students, and it had amendments like in this section and has been replaced with or. So unless you're practicing and unless you're giving legal advice, you don't really have to go into the details of and or. It's a very different question of law altogether. So when it comes to those finer aspects, you can completely leave that without fearing that you will lose any sort of marks. But having said this, amendments are important. So when a particular limit has been changed, or when the Companies Act 2013 came, the number of members in a private company were increased and things of that kind. So those are prima facie very important things. But when it comes to little amendments like replacement of words or adding of new forms, I don't think these are essential for students at the executive level. I can't hear you, Juhi. Yeah.
Students are asking interesting questions like, was Avani, socially active on social media sites? And if yes, how did she manage? And if no, how did she cope up? And
so yeah, that is one thing. I am not active on social media. I still don't have a Facebook account, but I think sometimes I regret it, when I go to college and people are discussing things and maybe even events, not even discussing people. There are times I just blank out because I don't really know about all of that. So social media definitely has its advantages, but since I was doing so many things, I didn't really have the time to devote to social media. And when I say about social media, I'm only referring to Facebook and Twitter. I definitely use WhatsApp, and I definitely have a social circle and friends who I talk to on a routine basis. But having said that, I think it's a very personal choice. And I remember there was this interview of mine. It was right after my CS professional result. So I think it was often quoted that the success of CS professional topper is to stay away from Facebook, and I don't advocate that at all. So all of you, who believe that deactivating Facebook is the only option to focus yourself. I think you need to take another look at the kind of interactions that you have. And it's very important to regulate the time that we spend on social media. I mean, I'm not on Facebook, but there are a ton of websites that I follow which have interesting news. So that is something that can be equally distracting. So before your exams, I think a lot of people deactivate social media, and I deactivated my WhatsApp before I had my exams because it probably just kept me away from a lot of things that bother me. What are people talking about, and friends, and we all know the kind of complications that can bring about. So I did deactivate WhatsApp for some time, and I'm still not on Facebook, but that's definitely not something that I advocate. If you believe that you can regulate the time that you spend on social media, you should definitely go ahead with it. And it is so enriching to be in touch with people and being aware of what other people are doing, and that gives a different sense of comfort. Not even friends, just being in touch with distant family and relatives and all of that. So if you believe that you can conduct yourself in a way that does not distract you, you should definitely go ahead with it.
Yes, and I think the key is, in self-control for any kind of online preparation, for any kind of self-studies, even if you are not looking for an online mentor or a website to study from. The key is to have that sort of self-control, because until unless you have that, just not having a Facebook account or a Twitter account will not help you. You have to know when to stop doing whatever you are doing and when to start studying.
Yes.
Or that kind of schedule you can tell. You can tell your own schedule, and you can tell the kind of timetable that someone can make, and our professors can also create those kind of overall schedule. Okay, from this time to this time you have to you prepare and study, or from this time for the next 3 days you revise them. But the thing is that the students have to execute that plan or execute that schedule themselves, and that's where the most important thing comes into picture. So
Right.
at this, I'll just take
so building on that, yeah, go ahead.
No, please go ahead, please.
So building on that, the point that sometimes you're not able to stick to our goals, and in terms of the assignments that are given to us, I think it's important to build a relationship with your online instructor if you are solely relying on an online medium, because when it's instructional medium, your professor does not really know whether you understand things or not. So do not feel hesitant in terms of asking about questions. And then sometimes we all get stuck when it comes to assignments, and we just lose interest because we're not progressing any further. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. The second thing is always keep the bigger picture in mind. Sometimes we get stuck, we don't arrive at a particular answer, and it can be hugely demotivating because everybody else knows how to do it and I don't know how to do it. But you need to reflect upon and realize that you have strengths and there are things that you are good at. So maybe you can spend some time doing one subject that you're good at, and something that gives you more inspiration and energy to come back to something that you are probably not that good at. So just keep the bigger picture in mind all the time, and it's very easy to be lost and distracted, but the real strength lies in knowing that there are subjects you can be good at and there are subjects you can be weak at. So it's about balancing the two. And like I said, identifying your own strengths and weaknesses. So we all fall short of goals, and I mean, there are times that I haven't submitted my my assignments that I was supposed to, and I mean, we all lag behind at times. It happens to everybody. So it's okay, it's a part of growing up, and sometimes it's okay to not do an assignment and go out for a movie instead. But make sure that you cover up for all that you've lost, and I think that is something that's the key.
Yeah, and make sure that it doesn't become a habit, to just bunk on your schedule.
Yes, of course.
And I think one important factor that you've been mentioning again and again is that failure is not, the end point. After failure, you can. The main thing is that, from whatever failure you had, whatever attempt, you have to reanalyze your strategy. Where did you go wrong in preparing? What were the modules that you could not, pay attention to? And that's where it comes into picture, that you have to start studying not from scratch, because you already, especially for reappearing people, for these exams. But they already know a lot because they have studied. So they don't have to start their preparation right from ground up work, but they have to prepare strategically and with a proper plan. Right?
Yes,
So,
that's essential.